The scary part with AI is today is the day that AI is at its absolute worst capabilities for the rest of human history. It's only going to get better. And so when you think about where it's gone from the Will Smith spaghetti eating video of 3 years where, he was, all that. And now you see it and you're like, that looks really real. And to think like that evolution happened in 3 years and it's only compounding at a rate unknown to mankind. You start to think 5-10 years down the road, it's going to be so impossible to discern the difference between real and fake. It's going to get to a point where you can't tell if something is real or not when you go to back it, because they'll be able to create videos and images that are so authentic that you can't tell that it's not real. And where does that lead to the games that start to come out through that, where it's just literal trash being thrown out there, where they're hoarding money? There's no financial protections for backers on those websites.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Good gaming champions, and welcome to an episode where we are going to discuss the impacts of AI in the board game space and ask the question, really, Dion and Dylan, will it change things? And Dylan, you're actually a great one to ask, because of the three of us, you're the only one who's actually invented a board game. Dion and I are still working on our ideas. We're not. That's a lie.
Not anything.
That's an absolute lie.
I have nothing. I just give all my ideas to Dylan, and hopefully he'll make one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm doing now. Somebody who has more energy than I do.
But this is obviously a topic, gentlemen, that's very, very front and center right now, as AI has become such a big topic nationally across so many industries. And of course, our beloved hobby is no different than many of the others. And it's coming to impact in a lot of different ways. Of course, we've already seen the impacts in art, design, organization. And so it kind of starts to ask the question of, is this something that will eventually come into the hobby in a deeper way? Will it change the board game space? How will it affect the industry? And where can we see it going forward? So I thought to start this video, again, it would be no better person to ask than Dylan. Dylan, the topic really kind of came from you with your background and how you got started in board games.
Oh, you mean my Reddit post?
Yeah. To give you some background before you get going, you started in the technical industry like myself I did video game development. You're correct me if I'm wrong, working in the, design, not design, but the development.
Like advertising, advertising data.
There we go.
Yeah. So we leverage and do a lot of machine learning development as well.
And even when I was in the industry, in the video game industry, there wasn't really AI wasn't a competitor at that time. And this was back pre-COVID, right? It wasn't even a topic. If it was very small, like potatoes. It's nowhere near what it's been lately. So with you and what your day-to-day life has been, especially becoming a creator outside since COVID, and you use it in your day-to-day life. So on creating a board game, how did those experiences that you got into of understanding that this is a touchy subject?
Well, I got schooled pretty quickly. And honestly, thankfully, because I come into this, again, I use AI tools like Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini to just speed up certain tasks and jobs that I have to do. And so when I started designing Huddle, I immediately was like, okay, great. I'll use these tools to help me accelerate certain workflows or goals or objectives I'm trying to do. So the story is I wanted to get we were playtesting and I was starting to do some design and some aesthetic ideas. And I didn't really know what direction I was going to go. Did I want to go retro? Did I want to go kind of like a Frank Miller type, that 300 vibe, kind of a Dark Knight feel, like a Friday Night Lights? Or did I want to go like really kind of over the top, kind of gimmicky sports theme, like that's a little bit more like what you see, I would say, today in like most. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw all these ideas out there. I'm not an artist. I don't have the budget to like pay for an artist. So I went to ChatGPT and I had it create 5 different, what I thought were like aesthetic directions. I don't know. That's probably the best way I have to put it. So I put these images, I downloaded them, and then I threw them together and I threw them on the board game subreddit. Knowing nothing about the AI board game relationship. This is also early on in my phase, and I'm actually very glad that we did do this early on. So I post these and I go to bed, have a great night's sleep. I wake up and I have all these comments and engagement on Reddit. I was like, "Oh, this is great! Like some feedback and I can action upon." And I open up my phone and I have it with me because I thought I should read some of the comments.
Could you share some of those with us, please? This would be great.
Because I think this is the part where we would call this. Here's where Dylan gets absolutely donked on.
This is going to be good. Could you share some of those?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So yeah, there's a couple good ones. I'll start off with the first one. You need to make sure your prompts in Stable Diffusion include negative prompts like ugly, extra fingers, deformed hands, mutant hands, fusion hands, deformed, mutant, bad anatomy. I've often said the hardest part of being an AI prompt engineer was picking which of the 4 versions of the generated slurry you wanted to iterate on. And it is grimly satisfying to see that, of course, AI folks would want to outsource that too. I don't know, bro. Ask ChatGPT which one it likes. This comment has more thought than the post. Not to be rude, but
yep, here we go.
Would love some thoughts and feedback on different design and aesthetic concepts. Okay, well then, show them. And ask more pointed questions instead of 4 random football player AI arts. I don't know if you meant to add a comment with additional info, or if you want us to just design the game for you and nothing to go off, but I like people throwing footballs and I like AI.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, my favorite one was more fingers. That was it.
Now, how early was this design, though? What year would you say you were in this kind of thing? This design element?
Oh, this is so early. Like in design for me I wasn't even designing anything. I was just trying to understand like what my kind of like the aesthetic direction I wanted to take the game in. We obviously went like, I love Friday Night Lights as a movie and a concept, so I kind of always knew I wanted to go that route. So I was maybe looking for some validation, if nothing else, but I was also like, maybe the retro feel is really going to resonate with this board game community that, I really wasn't intimately familiar with. Like, I had been a casual gamer for a very long time, but I was not involved in the gaming community. And so I had no idea that this topic and this tooling was a point of contention, to put lightly. So I got schooled, and I'm glad I knew this. And I ended up actually hiring a designer, Saeed. If you watch this, you're amazing. So she did all the illustrations. I obviously designed the game, and then she just illustrated everything. And it was so cool to see her. Like, I still have some of the hand sketch drawings of the players. And like, Huddle doesn't have like a deep design.
Yeah, it lives off its theme. I don't think you need to art is where it lives. I think it lives off the theme. Yeah.
And I never wanted AI to be leveraged in that space because I don't think it matches the human creativity. Like it's don't. Like, it's not going to design a board game better. If anybody thinks that they can use AI to design a board game better, I would actually love to do a challenge. I think that would be
I guess that's incredible. The question then. I mean, since we're already kind of brought up the idea, where does AI have a place in board gaming? I mean, can anybody answer that? Like,
because I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
the big concern that if you look at a lot of videos or Reddit posts or just, for us talking to industry insiders and other media people, the first thing always goes to the concern about employment. Because especially for artists, there are not a lot of avenues that sometimes you can find. And so when you get into a certain space, you really want to hold on to that. And I know art in board games is such a integral part of thematics and the overall feel of an experience. And I think that that's one that a lot of board gamers, from what I hear, are really protective of, to make sure that that human element and the people who have brought so many games to life already can keep staying in the space and not get replaced.
I know for me personally, AI has no place in my art. I want, in my board game art, I want Ian O'Toole. Mm-hmm. I want the amazing lady, and I forgot her name, to do the art for T-Witches and Flamecraft Duels. And those, I think some of the best stuff that I've seen lately come from a feeling of a person, and actually I think helps the designer and the artist work together to make this amazing feel and theme that when you sit down, right? Like, for me, that is a big red line for me personally, especially with my background in video game development. I paid a 2 studios full of artists. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine not having the feel of what we're designing and what we're doing to develop each character that we're developing. So I think that becomes a very touchy subject in the industry right now. But I mean, the question goes back to where. So I have a lot of people that, my question kind of is this. So I have a lot of people that play on the computer, like on Steam or on what's the big board game arena, and they play against the computer. Isn't that not AI? Mm-hmm. Is that not you playing against somebody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where, for me, when I've thought about where it can be integrated in a way that isn't necessarily replacing jobs, which again, I think from what I feel from people, that's where there's so much protection, is they want to, provide jobs. They want it to be human connection. But I also think when it comes to we're seeing a lot more of app integration with games. I mean, you were just playing Wandering Galaxies tonight, and that one has an app that helps tell the story.
Yep.
And I think that as that becomes more common, where you start to see what's the one that has the AI board that you play on, Twilight, the Vampire Vampire Masquerade.
I don't know if it's AI. It is definitely a digital board.
Intelligent board.
Yes. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about.
But we're moving more towards those kind of things being integrated in the board game space. And that's where somebody like me who does tend to play more solo games, I feel like so many solo games are either eventually it's about a horde mentality of I've just got to stave off a growing and bigger threat each round, or it's a point salad where I'm just trying to get as many points as I can. And I think the one thing AI could integrate through, especially app technology, is this more intelligence for me to play a game with, more interaction. I think more in the lines of video games with Skyrim. They actually created an AI one where you could use a voice tool and you could actually talk to the NPCs, and then they, through AI, would actually be able to talk back to you. Now, I'm sure that's going to get real weird, but
yeah, that's crazy.
But I kind of view you think of some of those things for people who maybe don't have people around to play with. That's where it could inject a lot more creativity and uniqueness into the board game experience if you don't have people to play with.
Yeah, and I think I'd never want to hear my AI tell me to get good. So I don't think I want that. Get good, son. And then I'm ooh, this is awkward. I have me crap talked by an AI. So I don't know if TCGs you can play, if that's a realistic place to play against AI. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it tell me how I have a crap deck and I need to learn how to build a better one. I don't think that's a place I want to hear my AI talk to me, but I can see the use in solo gaming, right? Mm-hmm. A question I really want to ask Dylan, and I'm kind of taking charge a little bit here, but I really want to ask you this question because I don't know, and maybe we can have people in the comments kind of answer it for us. At what part, so as a small business owner, and as a developer yourself, in this board game industry that you're in. Like, for instance, we had a Shay that was on the channel, and he used AI art to really put up for his Kickstarter, right? And it said, hey, it's all AI art. If we hit a level, I'll pay a real artist, So as a come-upper, as someone who's getting into the industry that doesn't have the funds to go, here, let's buy, is there an acceptable point of like, hey, this is the idea of it? I know that your community says no on Reddit, but that's kind of my question.
So we used it. So when I hired Saeed to do the illustration, she obviously came in and she's like, okay, paint me the vision and like what you want to do. Like, it's like, well, I want to show players. Like, we've got players in the game. I've got this Friday Night Lights concept. But I think what some of the AI tooling has enabled us to do is go from a text-based like set of requirements, working with an artist, and go with a visual representation. Now, maybe some artists don't like that, but I think everybody I've worked with, designers in the board game space and outside of the board game space, it's very helpful for them for someone to be able to visualize their idea, not just like write it down. Like the age-old question, like the age-old statement, picture speaks 1,000 words, and it really does. So if I'm able to use an AI tool to then take and translate what I'm thinking about, so I can visualize that, and then when I hand that to the designer, it's like, here, this is kind of what I'm ideating on. You have full creative freedom, go nuts, do whatever you want. But like, this is kind of like the grounding. I think most people are going to really appreciate that, because I think that will accelerate your overall process as a designer. It's going to allow you to get from, this is an idea I've got, and now I want to give my designer the information they need to then actually illustrate and like do the artwork for a design. And if you can speed that up, you can bring more games to the market faster, hopefully just in a more efficient way as a business from an operating cost model. And then hopefully you kind of start to see that those cost savings actually impact game cost. So I think that's where it is. And honestly, that's where I use it. Like, I use it to help accelerate just operating. Like that's it. It helps me structure documents, and it helps me like, but I do stay away from having it do anything creative, because I still think it lacks the creative essence that humans inherently have. And I think that's where we will continue to exceed AI capabilities in just our creative and critical thinking and creativity.
Well, I could tell you 12 to 15 years ago, when I ran the studios, I was working with a lot of game developers, video game developers, I'll clarify. They would send me Google images of like, I like this dragon, but I want it to be blue with bigger ears or bigger wings with, more with smaller legs, but they would have to give me some visual idea of what I'm informing my team to create, right? So I see what you're saying. You're just using a different tool to do it, but you're still working with an artist to do it. And I mean, I guess that's the route forward with utilizing it and figuring out how to benefit from it, but also how to not make it take over the creativity of what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And one thing that I think that, I could see AI having a real benefit to the industry would be things like accessibility tools, for people who are blind, potentially physically disabled, where maybe they can't physically move pieces or communicate. I think that, board games, I think one of the things that makes people so passionate about it, and what I would deem to be relatively protective of it, is the sense of inclusion, that no matter who you are, what background you have, you feel like you can kind of walk into any board game store and just kind of connect with the people who are there, because there's this unique culture that we have. And so I think that, it is one that lends itself to wanting to be very inclusive to anybody. And sometimes there's just, we've seen a lot with color blindness with cards, talking with developers of how they're even picking what colors are on the cards based on colorblind. And so much thought does go into that. But I think that there are certain limitations at the end of the day that you just can't accommodate for. And I think that is one place that I think it could potentially have some value and benefit to make it a further inclusive hobby for people who have some limitations.
Yeah, that's a good idea to utilize AI. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to replace that creative, like the design, the artwork, the mechanic design, and kind of actually building out the rule book. But it can certainly help you accelerate certain aspects of that development without stepping toe into the actual creative space that I think is, like, to Matt's point, I think that's the sacred holy grail, right? Like, protect this space, protect these professionals. They do amazing work. But how I will say, if there's no prompt that I could ever give a Claude or a ChatGPT where it's going to spit out Flamecraft, like, no way. There's just not a shot. Like, I look at
well,
that,
I guess that's the real challenge. If we can hit, I don't know, where are we at right now? 800 subs, 900 subs?
802.
802 subs. So if we can hit 2,000 subs, we'll do an AI versus Dylan challenge, and AI we'll have AI create a game, and we'll have Dylan create a game, and then we'll put it out and see which one's the better game. I think that's the.
Well, let's go into, what are the dangers of AI, because obviously the first things that come off are fear of employment and the human nature. But what do you guys think poses the biggest threat when it comes to AI in board games?
I think it's the community right now. They are so against. It doesn't even matter what it's used for. There was a game that just was released not too long ago. We discussed it before we turned on the channel, that just used an AI place art, and it got destroyed. And the game is a really good game that they're bringing back, Concordia, and it just got destroyed. And now the game has no life. Like, it will not. I don't think anybody will buy it because of the negative impact of the canceling of that game, right? So I think it's the real thought process of the community, of where they're willing to accept it. And the downfall of that right now is, I think, the community. I still think you should be very protective, obviously, of the art, the creativity. But if you have a person that just has a really good idea, they have to be able to display something to show their idea. And I guess use stick figures. I don't know how you display, you know what I'm saying? Because you can't go out and blow thousands of dollars on art to find out that's not the style you want, right? Or the direction you want, or a placeholder until you figure out what you're really going to do with it. And they're still getting, I was looking the other day, and they're still getting beat up. Nobody's buying this game. It's got AI art in it. And I was like, it doesn't. They were using it as a placeholder, but they've already killed so much. So me personally would say the community needs to figure out and if you know something I don't, explain to me underneath, other than the damage to by using AI, you're increasing more data centers and you're doing all of that. But AI is going to be utilized. I mean, let's all be on the same page here. It is being utilized in fact, there's competitions right now on who can make the best AI, right? I mean, between us and China and multiple companies in the United States, they're going to push this forward. It's how do we protect our industry to make sure that we're utilizing it for the positive things, not so much the negative things, right?
Yeah. Dylan, what do you think are some of the biggest dangers of AI?
I think the biggest danger is it getting better. It getting to the point where it can start to create the types of designs and graphics and illustrations and artwork where we start to be like, I can't tell the difference. Now, I think that would be that's the biggest fear, because then once you get that, like, the publishers and the designers, they're still businesses, right? Like, you design a game, you want people to play the game, but you also do it because there's a monetary incentive behind this as well. So if I can do something that I can do it faster, and I can do it at a similar quality, and I can do it for a significantly less cost, from a business perspective, I think people start to follow down there. However, I think Dion brings up a great point. The community is going to probably be the bouncer, right? Like, they are the bouncer at the door, and I think that is going to make the use and acceptance and use and adoption and usage of AI in the board game space significantly slower and less tolerated than other spaces. Like, the tech space is just AI all day long right now.
And in the board game community, it's pretty much follow the leader, right? Like Flip 7 comes out, and how many games did we see at Gamma where like Flip 7 copies? You know, and so it's a lot of like, this sells very well, let's make it, but let's do it with a vengeance, or let's do it with Monopoly added, but it's Flip 7, or let's do, you know, and you're just like, no, don't do that. Like, be creative, be individuals. Let's don't copy the leader. So I think a lot of those could be drowned out with 5,000 games that released last year could be drowned. Right?
That actually leads me to like what I was going to say, that I think the biggest danger in board games with AI is Dylan, you said it right. And I talk to people about this in my job all the time, is the scary part with AI is today is the day that AI is at its absolute worst capabilities for the rest of human history. It's only going to get better. And so when you think about where it's gone from the Will Smith spaghetti eating video of 3 years where, you know, he was, you know, all that. And now you see it and you're like, that looks really real. And to think like that evolution happened in 3 years and it's only compounding at a rate unknown to mankind. You know, you start to think 5-10 years down the road, it's going to be so impossible to discern the difference between real and fake. And so when I think of like crowdfunding, this is where my fears go, because there's so much trust that people put with crowdfunding, and there's so much money funneling into GameFound and Kickstarter in the board game space. It's going to get to a point where you can't tell if something is real or not when you go to back it, because they'll be able to create videos and images that are so authentic that you can't tell that it's not real. And where does that lead to the games that start to come out through that, where it's just literal trash being thrown out there, where they're hoarding money? There's no financial protections for backers on those websites. So, I mean, I know somebody who backed numerous games like Monster Apocalypse and El Dorado and Age of Atlantis and a few others that have never and will never come to my shelf after a lot of backing. That's the kind of stuff I start to fear, because you're going to watch a video seeing a prototype that's real visually, but it's not even a real thing. And you say, yeah, that looks awesome. Here's my $300 that you can sit on for the next 2 years until it comes to my house. And it was never even real in the first place. And I think that for me in the board game hobby, because crowdfunding has become so integral in the cash flow, the commitment, the development cycle of most board games now, even with the biggest companies, that's my biggest fear.
Yeah, the bigger companies are using it for advertisements, right? Like, so for them, it's more. You ask them, any of them. I mean, with the interview we just had with Smirk and Dagger, right? With Kurt, they're using it to advertise their situation. So you see Smirk and Dagger, and you know they're not going to deliver on garbage. So you're okay giving them your money. It's these new guys that I fear that is going to be, or guys trying to make a comeback and rekindle the magic that they had of a huge, launch. So. Yeah, I agree with that.
And we're even seeing a lot of AI now in like the board game YouTube space. There have been numerous sites now, or channels, that I've come across just, because of the algorithm, where everything from the art to the graphs to even the voice is 100% AI through the whole video. And those things will get 10 times the views.
We do, and we're real, I think. Yes, we're real.
Yeah, and it's like, and it just absolutely guts me, because like I'll spend 7-8 hours editing a video. It takes us 45 minutes to an hour to set up. It takes us an hour to film. It takes us an hour to tear everything down. It takes me 45 minutes to drive here, 45 minutes to go home. And so when I look at a video, one video for us, it may take me 10 hours of time. And then you see a video that literally somebody spent 30 seconds on, and there's no human interaction. There's no thought. And yeah, they'll get 5,000 to 10,000 views, and our video gets 200 views. And that's a really discouraging, frustrating feeling. And then I hear the AI say to me in my mind, get good.
Build a better deck.
Build a better deck. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an interesting tool and the relationship with the board game space, and I think it's truly unique. Maybe not truly unique. I think there's probably other industries, but it is very special in that the community is going to be the guardian and the protector of the adoption and usage of this tool. Because
yeah, but how can one? I agree with what you're saying, but how can they protect it on one side of the face, but then turn around and get 20,000 views on an AI generated that talks about board games? YouTube.
No, in fairness, are they authentic views? I mean,
you don't
there
know.
is so much view bot.
You don't know anymore. I know we can't afford to pay people.
We cannot afford to pay view botters, so
we can't afford to pay the botters. So
because that's been a big topic in the industry too.
That's a good one too. That's a different channel to talk about.
Yeah, we'll leave that one alone for tonight. But yeah, I think that's going to be the big struggle for the board game hobby and again, it goes back to something we've already said, so it's redundant, but that feeling, maybe that's why people become so passionate about putting the walls up around AI, is just because we all feel so protective of this because it is so special. I mean, Dylan, you even said as a newcomer into the hobby, you were blown away by the world you didn't even know existed with board games.
Oh yeah, I mean it's truly amazing. And Kirk mentioned this on the Smoke and Dagger episode, talking about a hell of a deal, that you have this community where you have these publishers who are technically competitors. They're all competing for the share of attention and wallet of the board game community. But yet he can go and speak with another publisher about like manufacturing. They're like, oh yeah, let me hook you up with my manufacturer. Or here's my price sheet. Like here's some of the prices I got. Oh, I'm trying to find some artists. Like, oh, here, use my artist. Like it's very much this like that 1950s neighborhood feel. Right? Like you knew your neighbors, you could go over, you could ask for a cup of sugar, you could like that, that persona I think exists in the board game space if from a publishing perspective. Like people are very much excited about helping other people bring great games because at the same time as publishers, they are board game publishers. They're also board gamers. Like these people love to play games. They want good games out there. So I think they're willing to help other people bring better games to the market as well.
So with that, I think what I would love is, for the audience that we have here at Champions of Tabletop, leave below some thoughts that you have. I mean, everybody has such a passionate opinion about it, and we'd love to hear your input. Where do you see AI changing board games? Where's your line in the sand? What do you think it could benefit or hurt in the board game space, and how does it impact you? We'd love to see those comments and have that discussion with you and get your input. So definitely leave those comments below. And as Dion said, we are now over 800 subscribers. We are climbing, boys. We are very close to getting to the highest tier of partnership with YouTube. So I would be remiss if I did not say, of course, if you don't subscribe, this could be the last time we ever see you. And that would make us sad. And you know why we'd be sad? Because we're humans. We're not AI. AI doesn't get sad. We do, especially Dylan. His house is full of termites right now. He's literally fighting those little bugs all day, every day. And the only thing that gets him through the day, Dion, is people liking and subscribing our videos. Right, Dylan?
I wake up and I was like, I go and see, and if 3 people do, then I know it's going to be a good day. So
So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and comment below. It means the world to us. And before we wrap up, I do have to say a quick shout out here. I'm wearing my Central Michigan gear today.
Fire Up Chips.
Fire Up Chips. Yeah, it is Fire Up Chips. I want to give a quick shout out to the CMU Center for Learning Through Games and Simulations. They had put a little post on the Gen Con thing that they were going to be there. Apparently they've now at my alma mater started to incorporate board game creation and theology into some of their course lessons. And so I reached out to them, and we're going to partner on some stuff with them.
I know that I tried to get with them during Gamma. They reached out to me in an email, wanted to meet with me, and I was like, absolutely. And then I imagine just Gamma happened, right? And we got both kind of pulled away from each other. So, but I'm excited. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Fire Up Chips. I had to wear my sweatshirt tonight as a prideful alumni of CMU.
I'm sure your wife likes that.
She's a Bronco. I always tell people that when I graduated from CMU, I joined a charity program where you help less fortunate. So I married a Western Michigan Bronco, and now her life is all the better. So she's lucky. So
She's
Nice.
all right, gentlemen. Well, great topic. And like I said, we'd love to hear from you guys. So definitely leave your information below. Tell us what you think. All right. So, of course, as we wrap up, gentlemen, we have to say champions never.
Wait.
What?
What does AI say we should say when we close?
Good question. Let's ask. What should the slogan for Champions of Tabletop YouTube channel be, Claude?
Since your channel's all about board games and the competitive spirit, how about something like Roll the Dice, Own the Table, or Where Strategy Meets the Spotlight? Or if you want something shorter and punchier, Champions Play Here, or Game On, Glory Awaits. What vibe are you going for? More aspirational, playful, or serious competitive?
No, that's not it. What is it?
No, that's terrible. This is why humans are better, guys.
Yep.
Because champions never
Stop.
Playing.
That's right. Good night, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.